I can hear you now. Can't,
Hold
can't,
on, video. Yeah.
there you go. How are you doing, guys?
Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, you can hear us.
Okay.
So how you been?
Yeah, doing okay, you know. You see, living this life of incessantly moving around, it's all well and good when you have a stay of execution for several months, but as soon as the move comes again and you don't know where you're going, really have little clue, and then you have to start searching for, you know, the ideal place where you're going to be settled for a while, then that throws me out of balance, because there's something inside me that just doesn't want to look for it. I find it all too frustrating, but of course I have to do it. And so what I do is I leave it later and later and later, where the pressure builds up more and more and more. And I spend hours on the internet looking for places to stay. And they're all the bullshit holiday prices. And, you know, it really gets freaking tiresome. And so I'm at that stage again whereby I'm kind of like I'm thrown out of my equilibrium, because when you know you've got to go, then all of a sudden the energy leaves from this place and it's drifting all around because you're not settled. And I consider that I'm going to be going up north, but looking around there, it's the national park where I want to go. And so it's a holiday resort. And so all the places are wanting big money for, you know, the holiday makers. But there are places that I've heard that you can find for about €25 a night in a bed and breakfast. And so that's what I'm looking for. But then you see, how long am I going to be staying in a bed and breakfast for? How long will I be able to stand that for? People coming and going and making noise and kids all night long and this sort of thing. And so, you know, ideally what I want is I just want a quiet little place in a quiet little town, close to amenities to get about on my mountain bike, and, you know, within about a mile away from some woods or some hills and that sort of thing, you know, because I'm just being drawn more and more out of societies. And so I've got to go with my intuition and everything that I'm feeling, you know, and so that's how it is. But every time I get somewhere, of course, it's unsustainable, and I'm looking at my money dwindling. You know, I spent £30,000 in about 18 months. And, you know, it's mental. And so therefore I'm thinking, well, how can I make some money? And, you know, I thought I might be able to make some money on the site, but the site's absolutely bombed. Invariably, you know, when I go on to check if anyone's on there, I'm the only one on there, or you guys. And it's like, oh, my goodness, you know, what is it with people? And what do they want? If you ask them what they want, they can't fucking tell you. You know, nobody, there isn't a single person. Can you do a video like this, Aaron? I like your videos when you do this, or I like you do that. I want to hear you and Patrick or you and Ira discussing this and that. You know, that really gets me off. Nothing. They just come on like fucking OPs, and they don't build their profile. Man, you know, wires.
Yeah, that's the problem with OPs, man. you read the whole Montauk page, which was very, very instructive and contains a lot of stuff that the funny thing is, I found this page by synchronicity. I was having a conversation about NPCs with a very close friend of mine who is too French to join the Awaken Brave. I mean, his level of English is okay, but, you know, like most French, it's...
Yeah.
You know, only when necessary. Yeah. And but he's a very dear close friend of mine since very young, and he is completely interested in the same kind of topics, just that he is way behind in research, because a lot of the info out there is in English, and when you don't master the English language, it's very difficult for a French person to get awakened, because a lot of the info is not available in French, and I know because I've looked at a lot of stuff in English, and then I was wondering, who in France, could I find that would be in these same kind of topics, and the only few guys that you find are really complete. Yeah, I mean, when you look at them and you listen to them after 5 minutes, you think they either paid opposition to make us look stupid, and people who are looking for truth are just plain morons. That's what you see in France. So, but we have a lot of these conversations, and I was having a conversation with him about the NPC, and the funny thing is, I said to him, I believe that one of the things that you can do to try to figure out who is one is that I told him, I very often noticed that when I was having conversation with people, it would go fine. But as soon as you would start bringing up anything that's spiritual or occult or out there, you would have two groups of people. The ones who would look like very interested and want to know more, which are very little. But the vast majority of them would just, freeze out and either become very aggressive or start to ridicule whatever you say or try to change topics. And it's always these three reactions. And I was telling Jean-Christophe, is my friend, I was telling that to him, like, this is what always happens. To my opinion, these people must be NPCs. And sure enough, the same evening, I'm going on YouTube, and which is very strange because I always have my settings on the newest videos first. Mm-hmm. I always want to watch the latest videos. If I want to know about a topic, I don't care about the info of 5 years ago because I probably already know it.
Yeah.
And I see this video that titled something like Simulation, Hollow People, blah, 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 blah. And I see 10 years ago posted. And I'm like, what? A video from 10 years ago? It never comes on my radar. All my videos are usually telling me it's like 3 months, 1 month. So I'm like, and the title, and I think, well, I have to click that for some reason. I was drawn to click that. And in that video, basically, it was a 2.5 minute clip of a few Hollywood movies stitched together.
Yeah.
Without any voiceover, with nothing, like a few extracts of movies. And I was like, huh? I don't get it. Why do they write this title on a video that has no content? And then I decided to go and look in the description, where you click on the little arrow and then and then wow, then suddenly I got this whole page, which was actually an extract from this Montauk page with a link to it. So that's how I got to it. It's very weird.
Yeah.
I mean, the video didn't make sense. The fact that it was 10 years old, I would never have clicked on it normally. But the title was completely, about what the topic that I had discussed. And then I read the Montauk file, and I see that he says, well, usually you can recognize NPCs because when you're trying to talk to them about spiritual or cult or these kind of things, these are and he's describing word by word what I exactly told Jean-Christophe that same day. So for me, it was like a huge synchronicity. And that's why I immediately sent it to you guys.
Yes, and it's very interesting in how this stuff works because Paul and I will fall upon certain people discussing certain subjects, and we'll say to each other, how in this past 5 years haven't we come upon these people before? How does that work? How is it now? And then, how is it? You see, this guy the other day, he mentioned organic portals. He says, have you looked into organic portals? And I say, no. That same night, I was listening to Dolores Cannon, and she started talking about organic portals. And then, we've been recently talking about NPCs, and I'm always going on about automata, and Paul's always talking about husks. And for this past, I don't know, for 5 years since I've been doing this, I've had this level of frustration going, well, what the hell is wrong with you people? Are you fucking dead? Are you living? Are you human beings? And then slowly, progressively, increasing in this past year, in actual fact, for about 2 years at the most, since I had my first big psilocybin, when I felt them and I saw them for my very own self. And I looked into the eyes of these drones walking around. Honestly, on this day, when I took like about 5 grams with Paul, we separated in the initial stages because it both fucked our heads. We were on different levels. And so I was pacing the streets, and I'd come upon people like parking wardens. And there was this parking warden walking down the street, and all he did was walk up and down this street and stick a sticker on, obviously, if he saw anything. And he had his cap on down here, and his face was like this. Yeah. It never moved. I saw him about 4 times, and it was like, and there was nothing. He was doing nothing except walking, and I just felt that guy's a fucking robot. And then I came across some really negative energy soul with a 2 Pitbull Staffordshire Terriers on long big chains with studs on the collars, and he had rotten teeth and long lank hair, and a stud here and a stud there, and he was spraying in a bandstand in this park. He'd got a sheet laid over, and he had got something cut out, and he was spraying. And then I walked over to him, and he came up to me and said, "Have you heard? They never went to the moon." and I looked at him, and I said in my mind, I said to him, "Really?" But I felt an immense negative energy. And I said to myself in my mind, "You fucking sent him to test me. I'm being tested now." And it was like the negative forces reveal themselves to you, and you can engage with them if you want to. It's not like they're so overtly evil and they can entrap you, but they can engage with you, and you can engage with them if you want to. And so you've got all of these varieties of entity around, and you feel them so very, very clearly. And so this is what I do now. And so this is what I said to Irit about the email she sent. Have you watched the 2 videos, by the way?
I have watched the 2 videos, and I looked at it, and you told Rachel you had like a bad vibe. Email. But now I've looked more into his material, and to be honest, I think I find him really uplifting.
Yeah, I mean, the bad vibe wasn't for him per se. I looked at the email and I felt the email. No, it wasn't that. What it was is an accumulation of stuff in recent times.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm questioning with Paul all the time, how deep do we want to go? Because it's like quantum physics. If you look for it, you will find it. And so this is what's happening now. And we've gone into a very, very peculiar area as far as all the other viewers are concerned. They're all gone, if you've noticed. There isn't anybody around. Nobody's commenting anymore.
Do you think that's because of the subject?
No.
I think it's because of the vibration. It's the vibration that we are going too deep, and we're intimidating them, we're scaring them, and they don't want to go. And so now we're just left down to this hardcore. And so what I'm assessing is, well, you know, if we go there, we're going to be very, very lonely. You know, there's only a handful of us, and increasingly we're going to be able to talk to less and less people. We'll lose all the rest of the viewers, because every time they tune in, oh, fucking hell, that again. You know, they want to be lifted up. They want to be told they're beautiful, and they want some sort of cure for their depression or for their psychic.
They want a quick fix.
Okay, but I agree to a certain extent, but I think you call this site Ascendant Awakened Brave, with all the meaning behind that, you know. And I really looked into his material, and it gives tools, you know. So I think it's not even scary material. I think, well, it's like awakening. you can explain it. You have all these stages, you know. And of course, if you hear that material for the first time, it's
well, the
like,
thing is, the thing is, there are
yeah.
you're probably aware of that. There are 4 stages when people awaken, or I mean, the path to, let's call it. I don't like this word of enlightenment,
No,
but
me neither.
you know, the path to truth. The first step is becoming aware of the information that a lot of what you believe has to be changed because it's not the truth. So that's stage 1, where you start gaining knowledge. Then you have stage 2, where all this knowledge will either create a lot of anger, frustration, or sadness in the individual. That's a stage that we all go through, where you and me, probably because of our nature, I was in this state that I wanted to go outside and just kill everyone. And other people will just stay home and cry all the tears out of their body because they discovered that they've been lied to.
Yeah.
Now, the third stage, which is the one that usually people delve into and stay into, which is a bit my case, is the frustration part, where you feel powerless, where you have all this knowledge, you've been over the anger because you realize that it doesn't give you any power, it disempowers you, and now you're going into this stage where you are trying to figure out how to get to stage 4, which is the final place where you are empowered, and where you are now. I have my ups and downs, you know. I have days that I'm fully pumped up, and I have other days that I just honestly say to either even
really difficult time.
I say sometimes I just want to step out of it, you know. I could jump out of the window and make an end to this shit, because I'm not scared of death. I'm very confident that what we are here into is not the real true ourselves. So I'm thinking, you know, I'm just, you know, like the Gnostics ended up drawing the conclusion that, you know, getting out of the matrix could only be reached by dying, and they all committed suicide. You know, this was their ultimate solution to this madness. Now, other days I am, and that's where I'm confident when I find websites like Montauk, or I have all these synchronicities, because like you say, like quantum physics, when you start looking for it, and sometimes the fact when you are in despair, where that generates this very powerful emotion, right? Rather than when you're neutral. And this burst of longing for something actually is some kind of a catalyst, because I've noticed that when I've been in these stages, I will always find very quickly thereafter something that will cheer me up again and give me hope and show me that there is a way to transcend all of this.
Yes. And so all of what you said is perfectly in line with how I am. And you see, this guy that came to me the other day, I mean, he was the catalyst, because I saw and I engaged with somebody who had destroyed the facility for enjoying this life.
Yeah.
And you see, I've said all along that when it comes to that, I'm bowing out, because the last thing that I want to have happen is that I lose the joy for this life, because my old man suffered from depression greatly for 15 or 20 years, and until the end, he killed himself after the 3rd attempt. And all the time I used to try to help him, he was unhelpable, but his zest for life, when he used to have zest, he used to love nature and doing all this sort of stuff, it had all died. And so that's my Room 101, particularly because I've had 2 parents die from suicide, and I've had 3 close friends, you know, take their lives as well. And so when you have an option of, it's kind of like, listen, I mean, the way I'm being spoken to is, what do you want out of this, Aaron? You can have all of the glory and the beauty that this world can offer you, or you can seek for the ultimate truth, you know. And I don't believe that there's any truth. I believe it's endless, because I go, who the fuck are we, this human being with this stupid egoic mind that knows nothing? How can we ever consider that there's truth to be known? There isn't no truth. It's a frustrating, grinding game, and it takes people into the negative realms. You talk about Gnostics, that the greatest, wisest people on the planet, they want to kill themselves. I don't think that's the way to go. And speaking with this guy down here the other day, he was at a war with his mind and a war with his body, and all these ayahuasca experiences and this deep information. I don't think that's of benefit to this experience here. And, you know, people say to me, this is hell on earth, and I don't want to be here. I do want to be here. I absolutely love it. I'm ecstatic walking on the beach or in the woods or under the sun and this, that, and the other. And so I have to look at myself and I have to go, you've got to make some considerations now, mate, because if you look for it, you will find it. Because that's the nature of the universe. And if you delve into all these archons and demons and mind viruses, you will experience them. And I don't want to experience them at the end of the day. And the other night, when I had this... something's up on it's echoing back.
Okay.
Jesus. So I'm lying in bed. And this is the second time this has happened. It happened about... Oh, I can't fucking tell this.
You want to restart it?
Jesus.
On our end, it's normal.
Yeah. Just let me try to turn my mic.
Now we can't hear you anymore.
Yeah.
And now you're back.
Yeah. Okay, well. Yeah, it's too loud. It's just bum, 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 bum. So I'll have to stop this recording and marry it up and send you a new invite.
Okay.